Welcome. This is Dr. Vicki Hofnagel from the Ethics Times, and I'm going to do a series of informational medical technology stories for you to give you a better view of what goes on in the medical industry. This will be provided to CONMED. It's an innovative company that works with laparoscopy and other equipment and surgical equipment basically, and they have a lot of development in New York. They have another new office somewhere else in the country, I think in the South, and they have a research and development section in Colorado. I was contacted early in the 2000s from them because of my work in argon beam application. I was the first surgeon to use the argon beam. I did this back in the 80s. I found that the argon beam could be changed. Its use of application could be modified so that you had very little thermal damage and you could actually reconstruct tissue with the beam by use application changes and by instrument changes and by creating what I call plasma state surgery. The argon beam itself actually burns tissue, can burn it to a crisp. But that's not what I was seeking, and in fact I was trying to get away from the typical CO2 laser that causes a great deal of thermal damage. So I was the first to use the argon beam, and it was owned by a company then called Virtue. And they were very excited because I had probably the largest surgical practice in the United States at the time. I was doing very complex surgeries for women to prevent hysterectomy and to save their organs and reconstruct them. At the time, my title probably would have been experimental surgeon, though I wasn't doing anything not acceptable by the FDA or the CDC or the NIH or anything. I was just taking things that we had and trying to apply them to operations and needs, and that was it. Pretty simple. It creates a lot of jealousy, though, when you're very successful in doing something that others haven't thought about. So CONMED bought out Virtue, and they had this argon beam machine called an ABC machine, which means argon beam coagulation. But again, I didn't want to have the thermal damage that unit created, so I modified it early on in the 80s, and for like 30 years have been modifying it, creating it better and better and better technology called plasma state process. Less thermal damage, less infection, less blood loss, less pain, faster healing. Pretty important things. So CONMED contacted me, and I had developed very unique applications. One was in the area of hemorrhoids. I had created a whole new way to operate on hemorrhoids that allowed you to have your hemorrhoidectomy one day, say on a Friday or Saturday, spend the weekend at home, and go back to work on Monday. Unheard of today. Now this was back in 2000 when they approached me. I think that the individuals at CONMED thought that some other surgeon would figure this out. Well, it's 11 years later, and I know no other surgeon's going to figure it out because they don't think like me, and they don't take the time in the research to put together a complete protocol and a complete understanding of how to radically change surgery. So when I die, if they don't do anything by then, you're not going to have this technology. So it's really pretty crazy. So all this time I have had in my brain and in the use of more than 300 operations without any complications, everyone had their hemorrhoidectomy on one day and was back at work on 2 days and no problems. 300 patients, no problems. So for whatever reason, CONMED did not move forward. They haven't moved forward, but I'm saying, hello CONMED, technology still exists, and I found a surgeon I can trust. I found a GI surgeon in the Southern California area that I would like to license this technology to and create the HEMRX, which is what I call it, HEM, abbreviation for hemorrhoidectomy, RX, meaning like a treatment, sort of like a medication, RX, but a treatment. Now here's what's cool about HEMRX. First of all, there's no cutting. That's right, no cutting. And it's not all burning. So I don't want people just to like, oh, let's call up CONMED and go burn with the argon beam. No, guys, I didn't do that. I completely modified this. And I'm certainly not going to give it here on YouTube, patentable concept, off. I'm not going to give it away. So no burning, no cutting, no sewing, no sutures. So all the things that cause pain in a hemorrhoidectomy were eliminated. The cutting, severe burning, suturing, putting big sutures in the body, and sewing them and tying knots. All gone. And this technology works. Actually, I need to say thank you to the famous singer who came to me with her hemorrhoids, who did not want to miss 6 weeks of being on the road singing when I developed this. Way, way back. And I'm talking way back. This was back in the early 80s. As soon as they had, Richard came to me and said, we have the machine, I said, let me have it. I was extremely unhappy with the CO2 laser. I stopped using it right away. I moved on to the YAG, and I only use the YAG for certain applications. So, hey CONMED, if you're ready, I have HEMRX ready, and I have a surgeon who I can license this to. I can help in the teaching and development of the product. I do not practice medicine. I can consult and do everything to bring a new hemorrhoid procedure to the United States. It has to be licensed. The doctors have to learn the technology, the techniques, and the protocol to do it right. And I'm willing to do this. If you are willing to make medicine better, provide a hemorrhoidectomy that is safer, provide a hemorrhoidectomy that has less complications, and provide a hemorrhoidectomy that doesn't hurt. That's pretty good. No, so what do you want? It's up to you now. This is given to CONMED, and I'm giving it to the doctor that I trust. Why do I trust him? He's my doctor. He took care of me and followed me after my colon cancer. So I trust him. And he's not ego and godlike. He's a pretty decent guy. So I can trust him. And it's taken me over 10 years to find one surgeon I could trust. This is Dr. Vicki Hufnagel saying, truth is beauty. Let's move on and learn more about our medical technology.